Hello everybody, good morning, afternoon, evening or night, wherever you're tuning in from. I hope you've had or are having a wonderful day. My name is Suan. I am the co-founder and visual artist at Control Studio based in Kuching, Sarawak, Malaysia. We are a creative tech studio focused on harnessing the power of impactful storytelling through multimedia design and game design. So enough about me, I have a hefty presentation, so let's get going. I will be talking about how I, along with 3 other teammates, managed to develop an augmented reality equipped, cultural themed mobile game from scratch in 12 weeks. This game was inspired by the female traditional tattoo artists of the indigenous Kayan community in Sarawak, Borneo, a topic that really piqued our interest at the time we were doing our brainstorming and research. For those who aren't familiar with traditional hand-tap tattooing and why we felt that this was such a rare find, it is commonly regarded as a man's art form, at least in our state. The indigenous Iban men are famous for their thick, bold tattoo designs depicting different forms of wildlife and are usually at the forefront of traditional tattooing in this region. Because the Kayan women's tattooing wasn't as well known and, to our knowledge, wasn't being practiced anymore, finding information that we needed to make this game happen proved more difficult than we expected. Most of the resources that we found actually highlighted the Iban community's tattooing, and a lot of it contained misinformation due to things being lost in translation. Something I will touch on later. When designing the visuals of the game, which was where most of my efforts went into, we used a picture of the original tattoo designs as a base and expanded it from there. Knowing that many of these original motifs actually represented things like plants, we built the rest of the levels by creating similar looking patterns to mimic a scenery or environment, referencing of local flora such as coconut trees, the hibiscus flower, which is actually our national flower, the rafflesia, a very rare and large carnivorous flower that you can find in the state of Sabah, and midin, a jungle fern and wok-fried delicacy only found in our state of Sarawak. The fictional narrative of the game was actually built upon our findings of how some of the Kayan girls actually started their tattoo process from as young as 10 years old, and the belief that these tattoos would act as their guiding light to show them the way to their final resting place in their pitch dark afterlife. And because our project required a secret sauce, as our supervisor liked to call it, we integrated an augmented reality feature that allows you to view the tattoo design on your own arm. Each level you complete reveals a small part of the tattoo design, so by the time you've accomplished level 5, you'll see the complete tattoo. And thus, Anu Journeys Through Tattoos was born into the world, a game that would have us doing public showcasing, pitching at startup boot camps, winning an award at one of the biggest gaming conventions in Southeast Asia, and international coverage on some pretty prestigious platforms, all in a time span of less than 2 years. So now, after all this talk and success on raising awareness on a culture that isn't even mine, nor did it belong to either of my teammates, I haven't mentioned any involvement of the people from this community whose culture I've based one of my biggest projects on. When we developed this game, we intended to interview and connect with people from the community, or at least familiar with this tradition. There happened to be a tattoo expo at the time we did our research, but most of the people present were from the Iban community and could only give us little info about the Kayan's tradition. We also discovered that most of the Kayan population actually resided in another city, but traveling was not something we could afford as students with tight deadlines and budgets. So we made the decision to just keep moving forward. Fast forward to one of the startup boot camps that we attended. We were able to connect with a young Kayan cultural practitioner, Adrian, who was graceful enough to then share with us all he knew about Kayan traditional hand-tap tattooing, and he even checked out our game.
Ake pengjam dalam da kaya tu na kata abenta kaya ni pa nunun pa haduita dalam da kaya dalam una kata dalam kaya ti tenen temetang na. So I'm not sure about how Ano did it, but they did reach out to us and I gave them a few of my comments. Tiah nunang kalang daho. Nusika ko bara na sangjiak ti kata. bina nate kata. I think the way we share our culture these days, there are many creative ways and fun ways to make people interested in it. But then again, we need to keep it as close as possible to its origin.
From there, we learned that a good chunk of our research was actually too generic, probably because the books and resources that we referenced were by English-speaking foreign travelers who did not understand their languages, their customs, their culture, and because so much of this information was passed down orally, things eventually getting lost in translation was difficult to prevent. One good example would be how some sources actually refer to these Kayan tattoo designs as aso or dog motif, when they could very well have been dragon or dragon dog motifs. Not that there's anything wrong with dogs. Dogs are great. But dragons are considered very sacred and powerful beings across many Asian cultures. Knowing this, we wondered just how much more impactful and meaningful this game could have been had we managed to involve people like Adrian in the first place. This served as a very big lesson to us, and I hope this has been insightful and interesting to you, the viewers, as well. That is all from me today. I would like to end my presentation with this clip of Adrian from an interview that we did very recently. Thank you.
Dah ni lang halangan dah dah kan tubo ni. Jap na sang tedap ko barang. Ngio puhu pita ni jap pita ndak barang. Dah lang panyin ti ngio tedak kalong tedak panyin kah. Tedah lang maran ti ngio tedak dah lang maran ka. Jen haman dah lang panyin tedak dah lang maran bahida tarik. Nanti halang lana. Tetakan tubo ni Gina awan dah barada kajau dah barada kira macam heritage lah, something your parents would give to you. Abis sayo na ita kaya ni lang na do kaya ti. Ita kalang nara na ita kalang nyelong na ita kalang matoh na lahu. Ngata don harang putih lahu, no si ita dah na ri halam dah ita kaya ni. It's our cultural identity.